Okay, guys, let's get started. So I just want to pull up our definition of viral marketing here. Okay, so what is viral marketing? Viral marketing is a phenomenon in the marketing industry that uses social channels and other technologies to generate increases in brand awareness or to achieve other marketing objectives. Does that all kind of make sense to you guys? Does that kind of stick with you? Okay, so that's the definition of viral marketing. Okay, we need to get our audience to spread information about our company from one user to another. Okay, so we're getting people to share our stories, all right, the stories that our brand or our company is creating. And we tell our stories through the content that we create, okay? So we're getting people to share our content and to make it spread across the internet, all right? And we do that by creating shareable content. Okay, it's pretty simple that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over what I mean by this through this lesson. Okay, because we've already talked about the whole concept. There really is no secret recipe that guarantees that your content's going to go viral. And, you know, we certainly can't create marketing strategies around something going viral. Okay, we can aim towards it, but it cannot be the center of our strategy because there is a certain amount of luck in that. Okay, it's a little bit of magic. That's for sure. However, what we are going to look at is our reoccurring theme of offering content of great value, high quality, high value content. Okay, so in the context of getting things to go viral, high value can mean a few things, all right? So what we really need to look at on this lesson or in this lesson, okay, is the reasons why people do share that content, why they would share our content. So in order to create that compelling, that high value content in regards to sharing, okay, what compels people to share it, we need to understand what drives and what motivates people, okay? What makes them share the content that we create or that anyone creates? What makes them share content in general? So in order to do that, okay, I want us to examine a couple of these motivating factors and what they mean to us as marketers and as content creators and publishers. Okay, so what we're looking at is really a little bit of psychology and a little bit of the psychology of sharing, okay, so that we can better understand why people are compelled to share certain content and why they're not compelled to share other content. You know, our first one is emotion. Okay, emotions are really powerful concept when it comes to encouraging people to share your content. And obviously, guys, there's a pretty large range of emotions, right? So I'm sure you can name them offhand, at least 10 of them, right? But things are, you know, content that's funny or that makes people smile, that sort of thing, the feel-good stuff is often the type of content that people are going to share. Or they're going to want to share at least. You know, happiness is one of the strongest emotions that triggers a sharing mentality. So we'll look at that in a little bit more detail here in a moment. But the second one that we're going to look at today is what we call self-enhancement. Okay, and self-enhancement in this scenario is a psychological tendency that people have to feel good about themselves. Okay, so essentially it's an inherent need to maintain their self-esteem. Not necessarily narcissism, but okay, so here we're really just looking at the selfishness in people and how that can motivate them to share. Right? And the third concept that we're going to take a look at and we're going to talk about tonight is a couple of general points on sharing. Okay, this is going to tie in with some of the emotional and the self-enhancement notions that we're going to discuss, but I just want to bring all of those theories together a little bit in terms of the content that is shared. Okay, and we're going to have a look at all of these in a little bit more detail now. Alrighty. So we'll start with emotion. Okay, so what we're going to do and what we're going to look at here is, you know, first the emotions that we ourselves feel or we have in reaction to something. That's what's going to determine how content's received by individuals. You know, we are our own litmus test here. And you know, how people receive that or individuals receive that content definitely plays a part in their propensity to share. Okay, but we also need to look at the emotions in other people. And what we mean by this is that humans will try to perceive or estimate the emotions of other people, okay? Because we are community animals. But that has a really high effect on content sharing. So guys, as a backbone for viral marketing, I think it's pretty clear the role that emotions play. we've all got emotions, right? And we all react to visual content in different ways. It's quite a stimulating medium, okay? So content that resonates emotionally with someone, it's gonna have a higher likelihood to be shared by that person. It's pretty straightforward, that, you know. If you can create compelling content that speaks to an individual, it increases the chances that that individual is going to want to pass that content and information on to others. Okay, so what we're talking about here is an emotional value. And this goes back to high quality content. Okay, I think we've all heard the phrase that laughter is pretty contagious, right? Which is true. I'm sure you guys have seen, there's actually a viral video where someone just kind of started giggling and laughing on a train, and it kind of, everybody else in the train, the carriage, started laughing. It is contagious, okay? So creating things that speak to a humorous emotion, to the humorous side, those things are going to have a higher propensity to go viral. Okay, but there are other emotions that are also going to create a sense of wanting to share, okay? You know, by creating content that's funny or that's inspirational, or even content that strikes a little bit of a note of sadness, can go viral. Though, you know, sadness isn't one that directly has as much of an impact as others. I mean, particularly there are some really devastating videos, and I'll give you an example of one. I'll bring the mood down in the next lesson, but it's not as effective and not as contagious as the more humorous content. Okay, you're creating a connection on an emotional level can have a way higher chance of creating a connection, then creating a connection on a purely informative level. Okay, emotions trump logic. Okay, so when I say this, right, I'm speaking pretty much from the pure standing point of something going viral. Okay, when you're creating information that's designed to inform, it's a great practice. Okay, but when you're setting out to create content that goes viral, that gets shared exponentially, guys, there's got to be that element of an emotional impact in order for it to reach a wider audience, in order to really compel people to share it. You know, people are way less inclined to share something from a purely informative perspective than they are to share something that resonates with them emotionally. Does that make sense to everybody when I highlight that, you know, that difference between emotion and information? You know, both of them do have their place, there's no doubt about it, but for virality to occur, it is the emotional side of things that's going to gain wider attraction and wider shareability. Okay, Angie says yes, completely. A few of you are giving me examples there. Have you seen the videos of dad joke? I haven't seen it. I've seen it pop up on my newsfeed a few times, but yeah, no, definitely. There's a lot that has gone viral lately. Okay, wonderful, guys. Loads of you saying yes, yes, yes. I want everybody to engage with me here. Okay, guys, I want to hear everybody's voices or read everybody's voices. Okay, so that then brings me to the next thing that I want to talk about, which is the emotions of others. Okay, so in addition to the emotional impact that content can have on an individual, okay, it's going to help you to appeal to that person. So by creating content that speaks to someone on that level, on that emotional level, you're increasing your chances of that person making a positive decision about your brand, which is awesome, right? So by striking an emotional chord, people are going to become more invested in your brand. But we also need to think about how that actually makes them want to share that information and that feeling with other people. Okay, so let me know. I actually want to ask you guys, what is it about creating that emotional reaction? You know, what is it about it that will make people want to share it with others? Sam says the sense of community. Excellent, excellent. Poignancy, David, excellent. Yvette says all about creating that connection. Wonderful. Okay, so you guys you're on the right track. Okay, so the reason why this happens is because we as human beings attempt to estimate the emotions of others. All right, so what I mean here is that, think about a time that you were going to tell someone a joke, even like the dad jokes, right? You'll usually stop and ask yourself, you know, before you say it, you'll estimate the crowd, right? You'll be like, will this person find my joke funny? And if they will, then you tell them. If they won't, then you sidle away from it. Okay, so before you just kind of shoot that joke off to someone, you're trying to figure out what their emotional reaction to the joke might be. Okay, if you think they'll find it funny, you do tell it. If you second guess yourself and think, oh, we've got different senses of humor here, I love dad jokes. People don't find me particularly funny though. And my family are incredibly intellectual, so even less so. But so we kind of have to measure what we say to each other in that regard, okay? We don't find each other very funny, but we do always make these judgment calls, okay? So it goes back then to our concept of value, okay? So in order to have something go viral, it needs to be content that your audience are going to find valuable themselves. And also you want to see how it can be valuable to others. All right. So you're only going to tell that joke if you think other people are going to like it. And of course, if you're enjoying it yourself. There needs to be, guys, a perception of value to others in order for sharing to occur. Okay. So it's got to be that sharing of value. Okay. Right, guys. One way to do that, okay, is through creating mixed emotions. So what I was going to say, I'm going to show you that video in a moment. I was going to save it for tomorrow, but I think it's important that we have a look at it. A few of you might have already seen it, but hopefully you'll be able to see it in a bit of a new light after this, okay? So there's something called the emotional continuum, okay? So I've got this here on the screen at the moment, and guys, as I said, I'm not a graphic designer, so it's a bit of a crude representation, but as you can see there on the left-hand side, you've got your negative emotions, okay? And on the right-hand side, you've got your positive emotions. So you have emotions at each end of the spectrum, with the feeling of terror being on the extreme end of the negative, okay, and ecstasy being on the extreme end of the positive. So I want to ask you guys a question. Has anyone here ever thought that they've lost their wallet or, their mobile phone, but when they found it in like another place, okay, so maybe you usually keep your wallet in a certain pocket and you reach for it and it's not there and your stomach drops, but then you realize you actually have it in another pocket and you find it and the world is good again. Has that happened to anybody? I'm sure it has. I can't be the only one. So guys, with that, Byron says that mini heart attack. David says relief. Indeed, happened to me. Loads of you coming through. Okay, so quite a human experience, right? So how did you feel first? When that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. How did you feel first? Think about it. When you first thought your wallet was lost and gone, and then how did you feel when you realized you had it the whole time? I actually had an experience like this the other day. I was under time pressure. I think it was, on Sunday. And I could not find my house keys. And they're on a little keychain. And was absolutely running around. It took me 10, 15 minutes to find them. And they were down the side of the seat in the car when I eventually saw it. When I eventually saw it, there was relief. But there was also like, come on. Okay, so loads of you guys. Oh, Lindy says lost engagement ring. Priya says too often. Marco says always. Annika says few times. Angie says from terror to relation. Quite a few times. Joylene says Letitia felt terrified, panic, and when I found it was so relieved. Okay, so it's the Priya, that's a beautiful way of putting it. You find another heart in another part of your body. That's it. It kind of dumps into your stomach, isn't it? Okay, great, guys. So now, did you tell anyone about that experience after it happened? Similar to me with my keys that I just told you. Perfect example there. Okay, or it could be, even, when you wake up from having a nightmare, and you're totally relieved when you wake up, but you almost feel compelled to tell someone about it. Monique says absolute heart failure, then relief. You want to do a little dance afterwards. So exactly. So you're all with me there, okay? So guys, it's a really powerful emotional concept, okay? If you can get someone to go from one end of this continuum to the other, you can trigger an urge to share that experience, Okay? All right, so this was more of an emotional one. I'm not going to show you, I'll show you this one shortly, okay? But let me just grab this video for you. Pardon? The headline is a little bit, or the heading is a bit clickbaity. I don't know if you guys have seen this. So it is for a charity, okay? Most shocking second a day video. So you guys know the trend of the second a day videos. Right, so let's just, I'm going to play this for you, and I want you to tell me how you feel about it and what it brings to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Make a wish.
Granny.
Hello.
Have you done your homework?
Ada.
For a general strike.
Ready or not? Here it comes.
Violent clashes with British.
Live ammunition against.
Deserve to get shot.
Have a nice day, Mum.
Air strikes on rebel position.
We are going to stay.
What's happening?
Go.
Heavy fighting in Richmond.
Dad, where are we?
Rebel forces advance.
Daddy!
Happy birthday to you. Make a wish, darling.
Okay, so it is a little bit kind of emotionally jarring, okay, and I think that's exactly what they're going for there. This is a slightly different one. I will share the link for the video that's on the screen is going to be available in your slides, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share that link with you now for the other video that's I've just shown you. Okay, so that if you need to reference it at a later stage, there we go. But it is quite common, you know, I know that a lot of people would have seen that one. So Byron says, it started off so happy, then it got so sad. It's to do with Syria, okay? And it just brings home to people what people are actually experiencing on a day-to-day basis when it comes to war, I suppose, and being refugees and all of that. And it's the reason for it, and often you will find a lot of your non-profits, a lot of your charities will use sadness as a trigger, as an emotion. Okay, so this one is a little bit more heartfelt. I'm actually going to show you it because it's not as sad, and I'm feeling a little bit sad. So let's have a look. There we go.
Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you.
Give extra, get extra.
So that one's quite cute. They've got a whole series of ads on that, okay? But it's kind of the way that this one, it's a little more gentle the way that this one works out, okay? So basically they meet at school, they go out and they're very happy and yada, yada, yada. And then they get this separated and then they join together again and they're mad in love and he proposes. So you see, Priya says it hits hard. I'm so sorry, guys, for the emotional kind of manipulation there. But you can see why it's so effective from your own personal experience with this, right? So, guys, even if you have seen these before, I just want you to think about them from a technical standpoint of using emotions, okay, and emotional triggers in order to gain your desired result. Okay. Cool. So, great. I just want to give you guys a couple of tips here. Okay, when it comes to using emotions in creating content, okay, as well as getting your content shared, okay, these are some tips and also a little bit of a summary of what we've spoken about. So, first things first, facial expressions. For human beings that aren't sociopathic, I suppose, facial expressions are highly recognizable, okay, and they also add to the notion of being contagious, like laughter. You can see it with the little girl in that video, how her face kind of dictated the story. You didn't need to see very much of what was going on around her. It was all to do with her face, okay? Equally with the couple, you could see on her face what the reaction was there, okay? So, and you can almost get a feeling directly from that. So, also, guys, it adds to the notion of being contagious. Okay, like I said, like laughter. So if you're creating any type of content where a facial expression can be shown, make sure that the facial expression counts. Okay, of course, guys, it is the case with your visual and video content. Okay, it's why emojis have become a whole new language. Apparently, it's why they work so well and they're so popular. They convey what words can't. Okay, so if you're able to include expressions, do it, because they can set the overall tone for you and curability of your content. People do like to be happy and they like to laugh. So emotions in general are contagious. Equally, you know, that we didn't particularly want to feel sad, but how kind of strong was that emotion with that first video? Okay? Memories and emotions go hand in hand, guys. So your memories are often tied directly to an emotion. So what I'm getting at here is, again, you need to know your audience. So if you're catering towards a certain demographic, say from a certain age, you know, your millennials or your baby boomers, you know, create content that speaks to that period of time. You know, you can do it through your visuals, through your music, and generally, you know, through the general feel of your content. Guys, if your target audience would have grown up in the 70s, you can actually, you know, further speak to their emotions by reminding them of the 70s. Okay, that's just as an example. Okay, next, people like to feel good and happy. So do you think which one of those videos, anyway, falls in line with that? Do you think that they're in line with that? Guys, when you're trying to sell a product, think about creating a positive message. Okay, most of what goes viral on the internet is going to be funny and lighthearted. Budweiser adverts are very, very good at that. Okay, they're really sweet and cute and light and fluffy. Doritos as well. Think of the brands that, I mean, you can think of 100 different adverts that bring about those happy feelings. Okay, so when you think about creating that positive message, guys, the type of content, so light-hearted content has a higher propensity for sharing as a general rule, okay? You also want to keep in mind emotional outcomes. And guys, what I mean here is that people will often make decisions based on how they think they're going to feel after they make that decision, okay? You can look at it as, you know, simply as whether or not you order a dessert after you finish your meal, you know? Most people I know toy with this. I don't. I will go for the cake before the main meal. But okay, so say, you know, maybe you want to get a dessert, but one of the things that always crosses a couple of people's minds that I've spoken to about this anyway is how they're going to feel after they eat that dessert. Will they be happy that they've had it, or will they be upset that they had it if they're on a diet maybe, you know? Some people use their memory as a gauge for that. How did I last feel that when I last got cheesecake after my meal? My response is amazing, because cheesecake is amazing. Okay, guys, so does that make sense? Lots and lots of you are mentioning Nando's. Okay, so I'm going to bring a little Nando's ad up here without being too politically, actually, it might help So Nando's, for those of you not from South Africa, Nando's are notorious for having quite tongue-in-cheek advertising. And they do play on current events, on politics, they've got the Game of Thrones. Let me have a look. I can't really remember this one, but let's see.
Yeah, no, can you believe it? No, he goes in and invites Sam and Lind for lunch. No, he knows how I feel about those mixed race couples. Gotta go.
Thanks, honey. Hey!
Hey. You know, you guys are so brave. I could never do it. You know, the whole mixed race thing.
Hey guys. Hi.
Mixed race. It's called a triathlon, Karen.
South Africans love to mix it up. Combine any 4 of these meals for 45 Rand each.
Is that like a threesome?
Okay, so there we go. Nice, fun, sweet one. So if we have a bit of time at the end, guys, we're going to have a look at some of your suggestions. Kareem, bring it back for me at the end there. Okay, cool, guys. So everybody with me on all of this. Let's shift along a little bit. Okay, so when we talk about self-enhancement, what we are really talking about in the context of viral content anyway, is that people are essentially selfish. Okay, so I don't mean any disrespect to anyone at all. It is just a part of human nature, right? We're all pretty much looking at ways. It's a natural instinct for survival, you know, self-preservation. So, I mean, hundreds of years ago, self-preservation meant, you know, it would have been more related to actually surviving physically, but it doesn't have anything to do with online marketing, okay? What we're saying here is that people are looking to maintain their self-image in the modern online social world. Okay, we've had a look at some of the emotional triggers that'll encourage someone to share a piece of content. Yeah. Okay, content that resonates emotionally, is highly effective. Content that other people are also going to have an emotional response to is more shareable. Okay, but honestly, guys, one of the big reasons that people will share something is to be cool or to protect their self-image or to project it. Okay, the world today revolves around the internet and social media and how we portray ourselves. Okay, that's where people seem to care most about their images. And people are going to see, you know, they're going to see it as a means to finding acceptance. You know, they're going to seek acceptance through this medium. They're going to seek approval from their peers, so through social and online, okay? And they're going to be seeking for their own self-worth through this medium as well, okay? So I'm not saying anything about this other than how it relates to our propensities to share content, how to make things viral, okay? You could get into a hot debate about this, but guys, regardless of our personal opinions on the importance of social media and how people conduct themselves on the internet, I think that everybody can agree that it does play a massive role in our day-to-day running of most people's lives for the most part, you know, nowadays. So now the way that this relates to marketing can come in a few ways, but what it comes down to is the notion that people are looking to fit in. Okay, they're looking to fit in with the groups that they identify with and feel good about themselves. You know, so guys, that's why you'll often see images like this one of the surfer attached to pretty much anything that's speaking to a target group that aspires to this image. You know, it could be for your clothing brands, for your travel brands, environmental brands. I mean, I remember this in a weird way reminds me of Peter Stuyvesant blue cigarettes. From when I was a kid. It was an interesting combination. They paired kind of exercise, outdoor sports with smoking, which is quite strange, but it stuck in my head for this many years. So, okay, guys, because basically what it's doing here, right, what this image is doing, it's tapping into an image that the audience may want to model themselves after. So if you look at content that's put out there by the brand Red Bull, for an example, okay? I mean, look at them. They do an incredibly effective job of creating content that people want to show off and share with other people, okay? Because it shows what kind of people they aspire to be. Okay, so guys, I just want to briefly talk about the notion of social currency here with regards to that. with that self-enhancement concept, okay? Would anybody know what I mean when I say social currency? No idea, Peter says. That's okay. Guys, if you don't know, it's all right. Okay, well, in respect to going viral, right? Sergio says, no, what do you mean by social currency? Byron says, is it similar to social authority? It's similar. It goes hand in hand. No idea. So it's all right. Your social standing and the authority you have, Sam says. Okay, cool. So along those lines, yeah, guys, definitely. So let's have a look, okay? Social currency is any interpersonal value that people earn from interacting and being social with others. Okay, it ensures one has a good reputation, is respected, and feels a sense of belonging. It's an intangible sense of authority. It's an intangible, it's kind of people's opinions of you. It's currency, okay? Does that make sense? So what it means, guys, is people are going to be more likely to share something if it increases their social currency, okay? So if sharing content paints them in a good light, you know, if it gets them more likes or increases their reputation, they're going to be more likely to share that content that they think is going to do it for them, okay? Excellent. So another thing that people want to do online is they want to create or protect the image, okay? And creating content that's going to help someone to do this by sharing it, okay, can be a really, really effective way to get something to go viral. So the image on the screen here, has anyone seen this before? It's kind of like the new motivational posters, you know. Do you remember the old ones with the black bar at the bottom of them? It was kind of, you'd see a picture of a forest or something, and then it would have some kind of motivational quote on it. It's very similar to that. This is like a modern day one. So, okay, loads of you coming in saying, yes, seen that. Guys, this was an image that was circulating on social media a couple of years ago. A lot of people shared and they forwarded it to other people. They posted it to their pages. They would have emailed it around as well, you know. And guys, the people who were sharing this picture were generally going to be people who were in the business world, and they were one of two things, right? They were either in management themselves, and they were the boss, or they were the employees who were making a critique. They're criticizing or making a point regarding maybe, you know, the management of their company. Very funny. Octavio says Hercules. That was the first thing I thought when I saw it as well. It's funny. It looks like one of the parts in the cartoon. Okay, guys. So basically, in either scenario, okay, the people who shared and posted this image were making a statement about their professional or their business savvy and acumen. Okay, they were essentially adding to a social commentary that most people in the workforce can relate to. Okay, so what they're doing is they're managing the impression that their network has of them. They're sharing content that indicates how they feel about something, but it's also something, you know, that they want other people to take note of and to recognize their feelings on the subject matter. I'm sure that you can think of a number of people, I know I can, who are in my in your social circles that constantly post about, I mean, anything from animal rights to human rights to certain topics to Game of Thrones. I'm not going to get into that because I haven't seen since a while ago. But you know, it's kind of, you can kind of attach this kind of opinion of someone to them based on what they share online. Okay. Right, guys, so in addition to sharing content for emotional reasons, people are also going to share content for practical reasons. And those practical reasons include gaining acceptance from the online community, okay? It's also maintaining their online image, which really is almost like a form of personal online reputation management. Okay? People will also want to demonstrate their knowledge of a particular subject. So the more that they know and that they can share about their given subject of interest, the better they believe that they will be perceived, and perhaps they will be perceived differently. Guys, this is basically water cooler talk for the digital age, okay? People want to share their knowledge, they want to impress their friends, and they want to show what they know, okay? It's kind of like intellectual ego pumping. sharing content is a form of fitting in with your group, or, fitting in with a crowd. So before we move on, guys, does anyone, or does everyone rather, understand what I mean by this notion of self-enhancement? You all with me here? David says, show beats cat videos. I don't know if I agree with that. I love cat videos. I just wish we could integrate them into the business world a little bit more. But unfortunately, I think that it's a different target market altogether. Oh, great. Excellent. So everybody with me. Wonderful stuff. Thank you, Sam. Sam says cat videos are awesome. Okay, guys, so I just want to pull this together a little bit with some overall ideas about sharing and shareability of content. Okay, so this section is titled Sharing is Caring, because I couldn't think of a better name to call it, okay? So don't read too much into the caring aspect, really, What we're really talking about here is the ability of certain content to be shared and why. Okay, so we had a look at some of the emotional triggers and emotional ranges that can really, come down a bit to the technical side of creating viral content, right? We can integrate those emotional triggers into the content. We need to speak to people's emotions in order to get them to share, right? So we also then touched on the notion of self-enhancement, which really speaks to our human nature of wanting to be accepted by our communities. It's a little bit narcissistic, and, it's generally to be seen to be in the know with what's going on. So I just want to pull, this image up for us as well. So this is from the 2012 re-election of Barack Obama. Okay, so this is a moment that they had shortly after the re-election. So the image was actually posted by Obama on Facebook shortly after that re-election. So guys, this is actually the most shared image on Facebook, or at least as I believe of last year still. Anyway, I'm not sure if one's taken the hot seat. I think something may have happened with Trump that might have, if memory serves. Okay, so now Barack Obama doesn't really need to create a name for himself or his brand. I mean, he was the president, right? So of course it does. It makes sense that one of his pictures may be the most shared image in history, right? Guys, this one does, however, stand out because there are a lot of pictures of Barack Obama, okay? This one stands out because it's really genuine, okay? It's a genuine photograph. It's not posted for, it's not posed. The expression on his face is one of pure joy and happiness and peace, right? There are so many photos of him on the internet that paint him in a positive light. There are videos. I love the videos about him and all of that, but guys, however, this one does stand apart in terms of how much it was shared online, okay? It's obviously an emotional picture, and it speaks to the emotions of people who see it and then also want to share it, right? And it's also time sensitive, okay? In the sense that it got pretty much all of its sharing, all of those shares happened in the first couple of days after it was posted. Okay, so it was a trending image that was riding the wave of the 2012 election results. And guys, these are the types of things that you're going to want to focus on when creating content that has the potential to go viral. Remember we spoke about newsjacking? Okay, so you need to produce content that has the ability to reach people on an emotional level. Guys, whether it's humorous or inspirational, even sad, it has to strike an emotional chord. And, you also want it to be relevant to the things that are happening in the moment, in the here and now, and make them current. So, guys, now, obviously, not everyone is going to have responded positively to a picture of Barack Obama, okay? In fact, there's going to be, of those shares and retweets and all of that, and reshares and likes, or not likes, I suppose, there is undoubtedly going to be a large portion of Americans that would have had, or even globally, individuals that would have had the opposite reaction completely. So you can't please everybody with every piece of content that you create. Okay? There isn't any doubt about that. But guys, it comes back to knowing your audience and knowing what their likes and their passions and their pain points are. You can't reach everyone, so you need to focus on the right content for the right audience, for your audience, okay? You can't be everything to everybody, so focus on the audience that you can reach, that you need to engage with, okay? Right, so guys, when it comes to finding this out, you know, what it is that's going to speak to your audience, we've covered it in a variety of different forms already. So it goes back to your audience and creating those personas, okay? You need to do some research and some social listening, and you actually do need to put a plan in place about the type of content that's going to reach that audience really effectively. And by speaking to that audience's emotions and by speaking to their needs for social conformity, you know, so their reasons to share something, then you're going in the right direction. Okay, it's not emotional manipulation, I promise, or it's a bit of a manipulation, but it's not blackmail. Okay, in terms of getting started, additionally to just creating the content, you need to really give people a reason and a motivation to share the content that you're creating. So you need to examine your network and determine what content is going to motivate that sharing action. Okay, so now humor is going to be one of the most common ones. However, guys, be aware that there is a lot of content out there that is a little bit humorous and somewhat amusing, but it doesn't actually get the type of traction that you'd be looking for in terms of getting something to go viral, okay? But if you can create something really funny that surprises people, even shocks them a little bit, you know, then, I mean, like the Nando's video we watched, perfect example, and then that's going to be a bit of a golden ticket for you, okay? And guys, I was going to purposefully not use a humorous example in this lesson because there are alternatives to go for, okay? You don't always just have to revert to humor, okay? But, you know, if you're able to create humor and do it well, awesome. And if you're able to create something that's it's not the easiest thing to do, basically, is what I'm trying to get across here. Guys, you can also focus on the needs and wants of your audience, okay? So it's identifying a common problem that your audience has got and creating content around a possible solution to that problem. Okay, so guys, then perception, right? Perception's a highly motivating factor. People like to look interesting and they live for it, okay? But not everybody's got it in themselves to say or do interesting things, which sounds terrible, but it's true. So if you can create content that someone can pass along to make themselves look more interesting, then that might be something that's quite highly shared, okay? And it could be highly effective in terms of virality. Guys, people are going to share things that make them look good. It's going to make them look like they fit in. They might even share things that make them stand out or to be a bit controversial. That's not the commonplace, though. Generally, people are going to want to increase their own social currency. Okay? And you can also speak to a person's set of values or beliefs. Okay, again, guys, knowing your industry and your audience is vital here. So by aligning your content with a set of beliefs that your audience has, you know, political leanings or not, kind of in the same vein as the Barack Obama pictures, you know, that's going to increase the likelihood that these people will have to share that content with other people who fall into the same belief structure. Ultimately, what you've got to do is you've got to get people to care enough about your content that they're going to be willing to share it with other people, okay? I have said it, guys, there is no secret recipe for doing this, but hopefully some of what I've shown you and some of what I've told you about this evening is going to be helpful in terms of thinking about why people might want to share something.